I wasn't surprised yesterday when, late in the evening, I heard about the news of the judgment. Um, I say so because looking at the long drawn battle, it was obvious that it will end this way. Um, I look back to the beginning of IPOB back in 2016, about 2016. That was when the activities of the group became visible. And at some point, early 2016, they had the first confrontation with the Nigerian army at Ndigbo in Anambra State, when they had a peaceful, non-violent demonstration or protest march, but the soldiers fired at them and killed a good number of them at that time. I was surprised because I felt that protest is part of democracy. When people don't agree with what they are experiencing, they can protest. Even today, protests still go on in Nigeria. Outside Nigeria, people protest in all democracies. So I didn't see why their own case will be met with firing of live bullets that claim the lives of some youths. So at that time, I had to go to the the radio station, to condemn the killings of the youths. My reason being that at that time, there was no case of violence with the IPOB elements. Again, don't forget that the IPOB, when it was set up, had some very prominent Igbo people in it. Two former President Generals of Ndigbo, the late Justice Ezozubu, the former Chief Judge of Enugu State, was a member of the group. For he has a position given to him in the indigenous people of Biafra. Late Dr. Dozie Ikedife, who was President General of Ndigbo, associated with them and also took responsibilities. The reason was that they came up as a group that was protesting the seeming marginalization of the Igbo people in Nigeria. So the movement was largely to stop the marginalization of the Igbo people. They were complaining about the ill treatment of the government of Nigeria against the Igbo people of Nigeria. So their takeoff was greeted by a broad spectrum of Ndigbo as people who are fighting for justice for their people. So it was in the light of that that I also went on radio and said that their killing was not necessary. It was an action taken too far. I felt that government didn't react appropriately. When I made that statement on radio, I was arrested by the Department of State Security Service on the 3rd of March, 2016. And I was accused of inciting the youths and the IPOB. I was taken on a Hilux van from Oka right straight to Abuja. We arrived in the night of 3rd of March. I went through rounds of interrogation by state security officials. Around midnight, I was now brought before the then Director General of the State Security Service, Alaj Lawal Daura, who had a personal interview with me. And he accused me of inciting young people from the Southeast, that they were grappling with the problems of Boko Haram, and that I'm inciting the youth to establish the IPOB. In fact, I was accused of financing IPOB. an allegation I flatly denied, and asked him to show proof, because everything they said that I did was the opposite. I didn't, just because I said I didn't agree with the shooting of these youths. So after almost 2 hours of interview by Lawa Daura, he's alive today. He told me what were the problems. I said, you are not getting it right. Government is not getting it right. If some people are complaining of marginalization, neglect, and they have some grievances, that the best thing government will do is to call them and dialogue with them and reassure them over their fears, because they were complaining of total shutting out of the Southeast youths from the affairs of government of Nigeria and the zone generally, in terms of infrastructure development. So I told him that this is the crux of the matter. If they are complaining of marginalization, which every reasonable Igbo man felt was so at that time, that the best thing to do is to call them. It's not by using the big stick to hit them. Listen to them. If they're saying that the youths don't get access to jobs, as they were complaining, then you assure them. If they are talking about poor infrastructure in their zone, and FAD skimming out the Igbos in the scheme of affairs of government, the best thing you will do is to reassure them, and government has to change its attitude towards them. But that's the way to solve the problem. Going it that way will not work. So after our exchanges, he saw reason with me that what I was telling him was real. And he said, okay, that he would like us to be friends. I said, very well. He brought out a notepad, wrote his 2 numbers and gave me, and told me that he would like us to be in touch. I welcomed it and I thanked him. I was released around 3 a.m. the next day. And I went back to the hotel. The next day I left. And we continued to relate until he was removed as DG SSS, unfortunately. He took notes of all the points I gave him, and I told him that if government changes its attitude towards the people of the Southeast zone, that these agitations will go down, because what people are looking for simply is attention. So you don't need to escalate it to be able to achieve peace. He saw reason with me, and we kept in touch. We became really friends, So, but progressively, government failed to toe this line that I suggested to them, and things continued to worsen. Government, instead of using dialogue and discussions with the relevant people, they levied war on the youths, So I would say that the government mismanaged the problem, and that led us to where we are. Check from 2006 to now, it's 9 years, and consistent with my views, both on television, including the Senate. In 2018, you recall that when the issue of the IPOB started escalating, federal government went to court and prescribed the IPOB. At one of the plenaries in the Senate, I stood up and asked a question. Where in the world have you seen the use of court order to prescribe the grievances of a people where it has worked? If somebody is not happy, you order him to be happy with a court order. Will that person be happy? When the problem is complaining about is still there. So that use of court order to prescribe this organization will not lead to anywhere. That the best thing to do is for government to call them together and advise them to, and tell them that this is what they should be doing, this is what should be doing. The government to do this, government to do that. That was the approach I expected. So, but they didn't listen, they continued. Consistently, it's been my view that court order, court action will not solve the problem of the IPOB. Rather, it will be a positive action of government directed at their complaints of marginalization. And government did not read it correctly because they were looking at Nnamdi Kanu as the problem. Nnamdi Kanu wasn't the problem. It is a collective problem of the people of the Southeast. If you watched, you'll see that eminent Igbo people have gone to President Buhari when he was president to ask him to release Nnamdi Kanu to them. Professor Ben Nwabeze, the very popular constitutional lawyer and former President General of Ndigbo, led some delegation of Igbo leaders that included Chief Emmanuel Iwanyanwu, Chief Chukwuemeka Ezife, of blessed memory. All of them were in that delegation to the villa where they asked for release of Nnamdi Kanu. If they were seeing Nnamdi Kanu as a miscreant or a trouble provocateur, they will not go on a delegation on behalf of the Igbo people to go and ask for his release. So it means that they understand what he was doing and that what he was seeking was justice for the people of the southeast of Nigeria. So, but government was adamant to this visitation. The visits have been done by several groups in the past. So treating Nnamdi Kanu as a person was a wrong reading of the problem because he has the sentiment of the entire Igbo nation, both those in government and those outside Nigeria. So the best way to have handled the matter would have been to call him and his group and then meet with them. Government has done it in the past. When the Niger Delta militia people were given enormous trouble with strong arms in the Niger Delta, President Yar'Adua then had to call them and then discuss with them and put in place an amnesty program. At that time, you will see the leaders of the Niger Delta militia wearing chains of bullets around them, sinking in the creeks. And they were threatened, they were blowing pipelines and all that, and government had to call them. Instead of levying war on them, the government, in its wisdom, chose this conciliatory approach. And through that process, they laid down their arms, programs were developed for them, amnesty program was put in place for them, and from there, it went down. Peace returned to the Niger Delta. When the Boko Haram came up and was ravaging the northeast, government didn't stop there. They didn't go and carry arms and started pursuing them. They were preaching that they should stop the war against Nigeria. And those who accepted government treaties were accepted and given amnesty. They were rehabilitated through various programs. At one instance on television, about 1,000 people were paraded as having renounced the struggle, and they were absorbed. So this is the way to pursue peace. The use of kinetic approach will not solve problems of agitation, particularly when they are ideologically based. When people feel that they are no longer wanted and they are not treated as Nigerians, they will continue to fight. If we ignore them, it was dangerous. When it got to a level, I had to come back on television again to say that the worst thing you can do to a man who is aggrieved is to ignore him. If you ignore him, he will continue to do things that will get your attention. And that's how this thing developed, got to a point it reached. Government continued to use force on them. And almost a full-scale war was declared. And the southeast of Nigeria became a theater of the absurd because government did not listen to anybody. They did not want to go the way of looking for peace. What they used in the Niger Delta and the Northeast, they refused to use it on the IPOB elements. All of them the same type of agitation with different colorations. But as it is now, the government has stretched its own war to the limit. I remember that sometime early this year, the senators of the southeast of Nigeria wrote the Attorney General and Minister for Justice when the insecurity became unbearable in the southeast, because anything anybody did, he would say, release Nnamdi Kanu, release Nnamdi Kanu. If you don't release Nnamdi Kanu, we'll continue what we are doing. You know, we try to intervene to sue for peace. They say release Nnamdi Kanu first, is the first demand all of them were making. And the senators now, majority of the senators, I think about 10 of us had to go to meet the Attorney General, Chief Lateef Fagbemi, SAN. He gave us appointments. We went to his office and met with him on a round table. We were led by Senator Umeh, the chairman of the Senate caucus in the 10th Senate. We went and with our letter of request, a plea that he should prevail on government to release Nnamdi Kanu. Let us see how to recover the ruins in the southeast due to the breakdown of security. Everybody is saying release Nnamdi Kanu. When anybody is killed, they say release Nnamdi Kanu and all that. Both people, criminals joined, you know, and as it degenerated, they went into kidnapping and all manners of things. Nnamdi Kanu became the topical issue. So we requested that the government should be able to use that approach to, first of all, release Nnamdi Kanu so that we'll go and get our place back in order. We spent time with him, and he told us that he will explore it, but he's not guaranteeing anything. You know, when we waited for him, and nothing was done, because we specifically requested for the government to file a nolli prosequi and stop it, because government has done it a number of times. I remember that Sowore was arraigned for treasonable felony. I also know that Ndigbo was also charged with treasonable felony. I also recall that at a time, 29 people went to the government house in Ibadan to demand the Oduduwa Republic. They also, Ndigbo also went to London, to the Nigerian High Commission in London, to demand for Oduduwa Republic. These are things people do for government to listen to them and know what they want. Along the line, nolli prosequi was filed in the case of Sowore. Along the line, nolli prosequi was filed in the case of Ndigbo. And the 29 people that were arrested for declaring a new republic within a republic, we are not hearing about them now. So we were buoyed with that belief that government can still do the right thing and help us to achieve peace in the southeast. It didn't work. We waited and the killings continued. One day, myself and Senator Umeh sought to see the National Security Advisor. He gave us appointment, Amalan Nuhu. I'm saying this thing so that you know that we have not been sleeping, we've not been resting. We'll be following this matter all over to see how we can find a peaceful resolution to the matter. He gave us appointment. We went and spent nearly 2 hours with him in his office arguing this, and we appealed for government to help the Southeast people. Let us restore peace and end the carnage going on in Igbo land because of this simple matter. Right now, so I'm about concluding this aspect. So for you to see the effort we have made, the National Security Advisor has a feeling that too many things were involved in the matter. We said, release him. If he continues, you now have some other layers of people to hold responsible. Like some of us who have come to plead. You now do your own. If he continues, then we'll say you have tried. You know, that kind of thing. So that by keeping him continuously, and people rely on his detention to continue to cause problem in Igbo land. It's like we are forgotten. We are not being considered as people that need rescue, you know. So that the court has now delivered judgment yesterday. We saw it coming because we were following the developments in the court. We knew it was going to end this way. And having sentenced him to life imprisonment, I will only say that government still mismanaged the situation, because his sentencing to life imprisonment, I will tell you, does not go well with over 98% of the Igbo people. We are the Igbo people you are talking about. I've been in the leadership position in Igbo land for the past 25, 26 years. So I know the feelings of our people. And that was why most times I speak on this matter. On the 8th of May, when President Tinubu went to Anambra State, I had to speak from the sideline. And I asked on President Tinubu to release Nnamdi Kanu. That is one thing he will do for the Igbo people, and begin a healing process. Begin a process of reintegration, real reintegration of the Igbo people into Nigeria. The people feel so marginalized. They cannot be given opportunity to aspire to leadership in Nigeria. So when people are frustrated, there is nothing you will not expect. So I called on him when he came to Anambra State through the sideline that one of the greatest things he will do for our people will be to release Nnamdi Kanu. Let us be in a firm ground to begin to arrest the security situation in Igbo land. I did. These things are not heeded. Other people do so. But now that the process has been completed yesterday and I'm sentenced to jail, I want to advise the government of Nigeria. It is better to seek peace with people who have one agitation or the other against Nigeria. You cannot continue to ignore people who say that they are not happy, who say that they are not being carried along, people who say that they are being skinned out in the affairs of government of Nigeria. Not only the Igbo people, any part of Nigeria that is having one grudge or the other against the government should bend backwards to go and carry them back, discuss with them, reassure them, and have a change of attitude. There must be a change of attitude before you can have peace. Let it not be like the case of the Ogoni people, because Kinsara Wiwa was fighting for the Niger Delta people. His complaint was against the environmental degradation of Niger Delta as a result of oil exploration activities. He was campaigning seriously with that with his members, and he demanded for Ogoni Bill of Rights, Ogoni Bill of Rights. But unfortunately for him, his own struggle was during the military regime. And when he was arrested with his people, the Ogoni Nine, they were tried and sentenced to death, all 9 of them. Ken Saro-Wiwa, a global acknowledged writer, was sentenced to death. Like joke, no appeal. And when they were sentenced to death, almost all the world leaders started pleading for his release. Nigerian leaders tried to secure pardon for them and release. It fell on deaf ears. Even the Pope had to seek for their release and pardon. Nelson Mandela had to do the same thing, but government blocks its ears and lined the 9 Ogoni people, and they were hanged at the Port Harcourt prisons. The military administrator of Rivers State was asked to go and supervise the hanging. They finished it because they had the power. Today, what is happening? The government of Nigeria has now given them posthumous honors, regretting their hanging and the execution. You see, people should take benefit of history and hindsight to know when to apply a break in dealing with some of these issues. I heard now that Nnamdi Kanu has been moved to Sokoto prison. Yes, they have convicted him and they sent him to prison. He cannot defend himself anymore. So he is going to be there the way Mandela was in a South African prison for 26 years. That's what happened. And eventually, The same thing Mandela did in South Africa, rising against the apartheid regime of South Africa. He was punished, dehumanized for 26 years when he was released. And he went on to become president of South Africa. There's no condition that is permanent. I believe, personally, this is my personal opinion, that the government of Nigeria needed to do better than they have done in the case of Nnamdi Kanu and the Southeast people. In the chamber, you cover the plenary. Every time jokes are made on me about the marginalization of Southeast people, because that's what I've been standing up against in the chamber. To the extent that sometimes I will be asked, the president officer will say, I hope the Southeast people are not marginalized anymore. I'll say, yes, if you do something that is good, I'll be happy. Conscience is an open wound. Only the truth can heal it. What has happened to Nnamdi Kanu is a total disregard of good approach to governance. Yes, they will say people are being killed in the Southeast. They are the Eastern Security Network. When did the Eastern Security Network come up? How many years ago? Because government didn't want to deal with the matter the way they had to deal with it, people continued to do all kinds of things, and the Eastern Security Network came up, all in the bid to fight because they are not happy with what has happened to Nnamdi Kanu and the rest of it. Let me believe that now that he has been jailed, government will now begin to review the actions and the steps the federal government of Nigeria has taken on this matter. It's not something started by the government of Tinubu, but today he's the president of Nigeria, and he is in a position to right the wrongs of the past leaders. What started like a small thing has snowballed into a global issue. You know, if government had listened the way Lawal Daura, the then DG SSS, was approaching the matter, this matter of IPOB would have been arrested long ago. But because some people felt otherwise, they want to push it to the limit, and now that they have gotten to where they are, I pray that God will help to find peace for all parts of Nigeria, not just for Southeast people.
So if you were to talk to the president now, what would be your words to him on this matter?
Yeah, well, I'll ask the president to exercise his prerogative power of mercy. The Constitution empowers him to grant pardon to anybody who is convicted. Just the other day, he pardoned so many people, both those on the death row, those who were convicted for murder and all kinds of things. So he is the president. And I will ask the president to refuse the advice anybody is giving him on Nnamdi Kanu. It's no longer justified, because it's a problem the Igbo people are not happy with. Let them not see Nnamdi Kanu as somebody that is their problem. They should go back to the feelings of the Igbo people and know why they feel so bad about Nnamdi Kanu. Begin to pursue a process of healing of the wounds of the past. The war that was fought here ended 55 years ago. The Igbos are still bearing the brunt of that war, both politically and in the affairs of government. We've been speaking about it. So God has placed Tinubu on the position he is now. Let him use the same even hand to deal with everybody and pursue peace. He's not a military leader. He's a civilian president. And he should be able to make a detour from the advice they've been giving him. It is not true. If he releases Nnamdi Kanu tomorrow, our people will be happy for it. And I tell you that it will be easier to engage the Igbo people with Nnamdi Kanu being released from this quagmire. Yes, the insecurity in the Southeast will go down. Because if his incarceration, now backed by order of court, will make the people feel bad, even if they don't carry any violent protest. It will be the silence of a graveyard. Internally, every Southeast person, every true Igbo man, is not happy. Because when somebody who came out to speak against your ill treatment and marginalization is treated this way, it is the whole people you are treating with disdain. Not only him, it's just a symbol. And if he's in prison, he will be a prisoner of conscience. Because now that he's a life sentence, nobody is going to kill him, but have to ensure his safety in prison. And again, government should use it, this opportunity, to now say, hey, my brothers, come back to the table. What is that is the problem? President cannot pretend not to know that the Igbo people of Nigeria are not happy. He should not pretend not to know. So he has a golden opportunity now to use this to break that yoke by saying, oh, come back. Yes, the people who managed this situation in the past, they've not done it well, and I wasn't part of it. I'm now the president of Nigeria, and I don't want this conflagration to continue. I want peace, fence mending, and healing that will restore unity and love of one another in the country. This is just one aspect. You can see how we are living. In the past 1 week, what we're harvesting across Nigeria, problems everywhere. So it is not good to carry on with these problems. There must be an end and a time to say, let us bury the hatchet, let us give the olive branch, let us say, let there be end, and let there be change of attitude to everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Nigerians will now come together and begin to help in bringing everybody together. The country is so divided now. Nnamdi Kanu is a small problem. The country is so divided. Anybody who is not saying the truth is deceiving himself. And he has to take these bold steps. One major one is to release Nnamdi Kanu and ask him to go. And he will call the Igbo people together and say, come, let us stop these problems we are having. And what is the problem? He will listen and take notes. And he will say, these are the ones I'm able to do now. Let us move forward. You saw me on television the other day. I was shouting about the properties of the Igbo people demolished in Lagos. I'm not the only one who is not happy about these things. And when these things happen, they accumulate to aggravate the discontent of a certain people. You don't treat people as if they are not Nigerians. The Igbos are a very major important tribe in Nigeria. We are a major part of Nigeria, and we are contributing to nation building in all ramifications. We are the people who can live any part of Nigeria. The Igbos are everywhere. All the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, you see Igbo people. In fact, we are the people who believe in true one Nigeria. And when we are treated this way, it means that people out there are not doing the right thing. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria guarantees anybody in Nigeria to live in any part of Nigeria. And it is the state, the government of Nigeria, that ensure the security of lives and properties of Nigerians in every part of Nigeria. Section 17 of the Constitution. If you go there, you see it. So I thank you, and I believe that what I'm telling you, yes, I've spoken as Senator Victor Umeh, but I can tell you that I've spoken in the minds of millions of Igbo people, both in Nigeria and in diaspora, because we network, and I know their feelings.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many minutes is it now?